in this episode of the WoAS podcast.
Once again, bring up Andy Kaufman, the sad clown. That's like that whole trope.
And I think there's like a vulnerability to that. And
This is like a very like vaudeville type of thing, like a MGMT 2.0.
he does this weird like mouth shape in a bunch of his videos where he's like,
where are you? Like that kind of thing. Hello and welcome to Minisode 4 of the WoAS podcast. I am Mike Ledoux and I'm not wearing headphones for the first time, and hopefully this doesn't bite me in the ass later on. I'm here with my co-host, Jeramy MF Dillon. And today we are going to be discussing the infamous Oliver Tree and his new release, Alone in the Crowd, or a couple tracks from that, but he is a phenomenon, his new work and everything in between. So Jeramy, I'm gonna turn it over to you, my friend.
all right, well, I want to do an episode about Oliver Tree. You actually introduced me to Oliver Tree a few weeks ago, and I've gotten really into him, and he just put out this cool album, Alone in a Crowd, and I thought we should talk about some of the songs on here, talk about Oliver Tree as an artist.
Yeah.
One of the more interesting people out there right now, and it seems like he's becoming more and more popular. It's got some cool visual arts videos to go along with the songs too, and great little on Spotify, you know, they have the little 10-second reels.
Yeah. The canvas, you mean?
That's yeah.
Yeah.
He's got some great ones for this album.
I have no doubt. Now that you said that, I'm gonna have to go back and check that out. That's awesome.
It's one of the few that you want to actually check into as you're listening to the song. You're like, well,
right.
Yeah. So this album, Alone in the Crowd, it seems like if you're into Oliver Tree, this one's a little more introspective than maybe some of his other albums. And he's got some love songs in here, which, according to an interview that I watched with him, he hasn't really done in the past. So it's kind of an interesting, possibly new thing for him. I'm not sure what's going on with him artistically. Based on the interviews I watched the Steve-O interview, which was great, and this interview that he just did, and both of them, it was almost like he's hinting at this could be the end of Oliver Tree. I don't know if that's true or not.
He said that probably 2 years ago, and it was right around when Cowboy Tears, is that the name of the album, came out, and he's talking about stepping away from the music and getting more into the visual medium and film, like directing. So I would argue that maybe that's kind of part of his marketing ploy, because so for anyone that doesn't know Oliver Tree, go like pause this video and then go look him up quick, and anything that comes up will suffice as far as painting a picture for you. I mean, you won't get it, but I'm saying, like, just, you know, anything that comes up is probably authentically him. But in addition to being, you know, a pretty talented performer and songwriter, he's this whole universe of like performance art. And I think probably a very shrewd businessman and marketer from everything I've seen. So I just want to say that. Anyway, back to you.
Yeah, so I don't know if he's gonna keep going or not. Maybe he, like you're saying, he just drops these hints. Hey, this could be the last one. Come check it out, kind of thing, as a marketing ploy, which is, you know, that's a good move.
A quick request.
Oh, hey, didn't see you there. You like this video? Leave a comment down below. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll make more content like this. It helps the algorithm.
End of request.
It could backfire eventually, but
yeah,
I hope he keeps going and keeps putting out stuff, because he's one of the more interesting people. He's just really doing something different that no one else is doing. He's got a bowl cut that also has a bullet behind it. And
it's a bullet. It's a bullet.
A bullet. That's what he calls it.
Oh, does he? Oh, okay, all right.
It's ridiculous, and he purposely wears ridiculous clothes and makes himself into kind of a laughing stock. And I think it in some ways kind of serves his music more than you would think. You would think, okay, that's gonna turn me off, and I'm gonna paint this guy into a hole. But then you listen to his lyrics, and it's got this poppy kind of thing, but the lyrics and a lot of the songs are pretty deep, and
they are. And I think we see more of that on this album too, particularly in terms of the love songs.
He gets dark. He gets like esoteric in some areas. He's talking about like what happens after you die.
Yes,
really diving into some stuff.
Yeah,
And there's not a lot of pop artists that are doing that as effectively.
There's some perceived honesty in some of those lyrics, right? He's kind of like all over the map with the subject matter. But I think there's this aspect too that you were getting at where it's engaging different sensibilities, right? So, like, if you're into lyrics or you're just in the music or you're into like wacky shit, like visually and anything else in between that he does, I think he picks up a lot of fans in that way. I remember when I first came across him seeing a thumbnail on it was on SoundCloud. It wasn't even like a Spotify or anything. And it's the look from Cowboy Tears where it's the bull mullet, but it's like blonde and he's wearing like the oversized, winter jacket and like the oversized cowboy hat. And I see that and I'm like, look at this asshole, because I'm thinking it's someone trying to look cool that isn't, right? Stick with me for a moment where like it feels inauthentic. So I'm just like, I passed it a couple times. Finally, I'm like, and I like click into it. I want to see how this person portrays themselves.
Yeah.
And then I realized that it's an act and it's an Andy Kaufman level act and look and feel. It's reminiscent of the Talking Heads Stop Making Sense, like Big Suit thing, because he does that too. And I watched like one music video and I was like, this is amazing. First of all, but he's committing to like the ridiculous. So here's where the tie-in is I was trying to reach for, is that he's talking about on the Steve-O While Ride interview, cool has been done, cool is boring, like everyone's trying to be cool, like I want it to be either, and this is where I forget if he said like ugly or ridiculous or whatever, but the whole reason it's engaging is because it's just so out in left field and maybe polarizing, but if you're annoyed by what you see, you still kind of want to engage, right? And that's exactly what happened with me. I completely took it the wrong or the right way or whatever way you're supposed to take it, and then I got totally sucked in.
Whole weird package of things.
Yeah.
I think he's right. Cool is played out. Like we've seen
Yeah.
every version of Cool now
Yeah.
that we could possibly see, and people are so obsessed with trying to be cool.
Mhm.
I love things that poke fun and satirize.
Yeah.
And I doing that in a unique way that hasn't been done before. And that's
Which
like,
is also a challenge, right? Because like it's
yeah,
just like music or any other art form, like comedy has a lot of like foundational elements that are hard to get away from. Like if you're trying to be unique, good luck, you know.
yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
And we need a little bit more comedy injected into our mainstream pop culture because there's not a lot there right now. Everyone's kind of self-serious
Mm-hmm.
and trying to, take on this or that issue and be a champion or this or that or be a
Yeah.
serious artist. And here's this guy who's like, no, I'm gonna write these really poppy, catchy songs. And while they do have some deep lyrical content, the
Mm-hmm.
package they're being delivered in is this ridiculous thing.
Yeah, and let's dig a little bit deeper into that, and then we'll actually listen to some songs. But he's also a very accomplished musician and composer, and is capable of doing as much or more than what he's doing from just a pure musical point of view. And he's got a lot of different like facets to his talent. Like he can rap, he's got a good voice, he can compose chord structures that work for his songs, and he also has a really good knack for making a very short song sound very long, because he gets into the meat and potatoes so fast that by the time you're at the end of the second chorus, it feels like 4 minutes, but it's been like two.
And
That's really hard to do without either coming off as thoughtless and cheap or skipping through the stuff that is important to get you to the meat and potatoes, right? Because like certain songs, if you cut off the intro or you cut off part of the verse or the pre-chorus lead into the chorus, it just sounds wonky and awkward. It doesn't work. But honestly, everything he puts out that has like a catchy sort of aspect to it just immediately gets into it, and you think you've been in this whole universe, but then all of a sudden the song's done in like 3 minutes. I can't think of many artists that do that. So despite all like the avant-garde wackiness, there's also like a really deliberate, effective songwriter in there.
yeah, I think he, like you said earlier, is very deliberate about all of his choices, whether it's
Mhm.
inside the music or outside. And I think it is interesting to talk about his public persona whenever
Mhm.
he interview. Like he's been on the H3 podcast, which is really popular, and they get
Mhm. Yep.
his interviews there. They just start yelling at each other, and he's got the guy in a headlock, and like it just turns into a complete nightmare of an interview, and it's on purpose. And
Right.
think everybody knows what's going on, but
Yeah. Again, Andy Kaufman. It's like the wrestling interview on Letterman.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's wrestling women. Um,
Right.
and he's an interesting dude, and it's cool to see him take a couple interviews now, where I'm sure there's still many elements of that character
Hmm.
that are being interviewed, but to see him talk more openly about what it's like putting together that character and all the effort that goes into it, this Anthony Padilla interview, definitely check that out, where he talks about all that. He even
Yeah. Well.
references Steve-O interview, and he's like, "I'm coming to this interview completely unprepared as myself." And
Interesting.
he mentions, I went on Steve-O and I had a list of 100 questions that I had handwritten with a quill, and
That's true. It's not like a
like,
scroll, right?
he has a scroll of questions
Yeah.
to ask Steve-O, and
Yeah.
he had to handwrite all that stuff, and it took a
Yeah.
lot of time to put together, but he's committed to the bit.
Right. Yeah. That
And
was really interesting. Interview and performance art.
yeah, how do you have the time to do that? And he had, for the Steve-O interview, he had T-shirts printed up with
Yeah.
their faces on it, multiple T-shirts.
That's
I mean,
crazy. And he kept like sending the like assistant in,
yeah, he's got all this different merch ideas he's trying to sell Steve-O on, and like that
Yeah.
must have taken like a couple months to put together
Yeah.
to
I
get
think
the
he's probably always thinking about the next move at all times.
right.
That's just like another reason that he's impressive, because he then also cranks out great songs and then like directs. So for people that don't know, and you watch any of his like wacky ass videos, he like went to clown college. So he's kind of versed in like that kind of performance format.
Does his own stunts.
Yeah, which includes stunts. So anything you see in the videos, like a lot of physical acrobatic stuff he's doing, but he also directs, is probably akin to being like a creative director for them as well. So there's all these interesting choices made. A lot of subtle CGI things, like in the latest videos for songs from this album, Alone in the Crowd. He's got like a new haircut where it's like a bob haircut with like bangs. And then like he like shrinks with, I guess with CGI, like shrinks the face kind of in the middle. So it just makes everything look like more wonky, you know. It's really clever stuff. I mean, there's nothing like it out there. In fact, probably the first stuff that I showed to Jeremy are videos from the Cowboy Tears album, and it's just so ridiculous. Like he's like imposed on like this like big buff body, and he's like making out with like elderly women. It's some bizarre shit, man. But so should we listen to some music, just so we're not talking about a music artist with zero reference to the music? Is that a thumbs up?
2 thumbs up.
Okay. All right, so let's just start with we selected about 3 tracks. We're not going to go too nuts with reaction stuff, but just to give you a feel for who you're dealing with. This is the opening track to Alone in the Crowd, called Bounce. Little profane, so if you got kids in the room, get them out of the room now. Not really.
Innuendos at the very least.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, true to what I said before, I'm looking at the time stamp. 2 minutes 46 seconds.
It's always my fault, but when you need a friend, who you gonna call? Leave if you need, but I really wanna see you. I'll give you what you want when you feel lost. Baby, go, just give me a call. I really want to taste, so tell me if it's on. Come over to my place and stay up all night long. I'ma bounce you up and down. You'll be coming back, no doubt.
Just like it works. It's not, it's not, I think that's a great song where you could say it's not to be overthought, right?
So few elements to it as well.
Yeah.
You just got like this buzzsaw bass,
Mm-hmm.
drum kit, and then like it's just like vocals and then some lo-fi kind of guitar stuff.
And the drops happen where they need to, and it may be at times formulaic or may not, but it just works, and it's good enough that you don't have to stop and go like, well, it just hits.
And he's got such a weird singing style.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
He does this weird like mouth shape, and you can see him do it in a bunch of his videos where he's like, his mouth goes really wide, and you could hear that's just how he's shaping his mouth as he's singing it.
So here's something that I've thought about with that kind of vocal approach and like the inflections when he sings. I don't know if it's been said, but it would line up timeline wise, because he's like in his early-ish 30s, I think. So he's been around long enough. He's watched a lot of like music over the last 15, 20 years go through some significant transitions.
30 years old.
How old?
30.
Okay. All right. So, but that's still old enough. And so I hear Blink 182, like where are you? Like that kind of thing. But he's made it into like its own style that the interpretation is so different from the original that it's its own thing now. But I think in using that singing style, he's got very good control over his range such that he probably doesn't naturally fall flat or go sharp often. And it also then probably makes it easier once you have some good core melodies going for your different sections to transition between them seamlessly and not like go off the rails so easily. Because, you know, you were hinting at with these songs, okay, simple arrangement, and what stands out, the vocal, and why? Because it's probably like really very much designed to keep you focused on the melody only, and then that dictates everything else. You don't need this like lush chord structure underneath it because the vocals are taking care of it, which is another like tie back to stuff we've talked about where that's kind of like this hallmark we're seeing in some modern pop. We were referencing it in a Taylor song in another video, but like
It's all vocals.
yeah, the vocal is king, but not in like the make it the loudest element, make it sit in the mix sense, in the sense that it's doing its job for everything else in the song. And the arrangement is just kind of irrelevant. It's the same thing we were talking about Motorheart, the track Speed of the Nighttime, where there's just like bass happening and a little bit of like subtle synth shit in the back. And that vocal is so powerful that if that's all you hear, that's all you need to hear. So this guy is really good at doing that. I have to say, like everything I listen to, I'm like, fuck, like it's so simple, but it's so good.
Yeah.
You know?
And I hear some like hip hop influences for sure, like modern hip hop, what they're doing.
Yeah.
In some of that vocal styling. And I also hear a little bit, this could be off base for like, in his opinion, but 21 Pilots. I don't know how familiar you are with them.
I know. Yeah, I definitely heard one or two of their songs, but I don't recall it at the moment.
They're really good. It's two guys, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of the same kind of arrangements in some
Okay.
way, and that they're
Like
singing
synth heavy kind of stuff.
yeah, synth heavy kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But then a lot of drums. So the two guys, it's one guy sings, does the arrangements and stuff. The other guy's like a drummer.
Okay.
And they
Yeah.
work-
So like almost like an MGMT as well.
yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
they do some like rap stuff. They
Yeah.
do pop stuff. They do some like rock stuff. And
Okay.
it's kind of in the same vein as this.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
recommend-
and this another group I would reference actually more so on this album, but looking back, it kind of would fit in the same genre with the last couple albums. Milky Chance. This is definitely much under that umbrella or in that wheelhouse as well, which is another great band to check out. It took me a while to kind of come around to them, but talented and kind of like a MGMT 2.0 almost,
Yeah.
but also very much their own thing.
I bet we're both experienced this, Mike, where our friends that we grew
Yeah.
up with were like, "Hey, check out this new music," and they're like, "I hate this. This is
Yeah.
not stuff that I like." That's what I've experienced. Like when I try to show people 21 Pilots or Oliver Tree, they just don't understand.
Right. Some people it just takes a while to come around, or they don't, and that's fine, more for us. But okay, so I think the next track you mentioned we should check out is the First Night.
And none of these are the single tracks, by the way.
Right.
The singles off of this you should also check out, but we're doing some deep dives already.
Yeah, because like this album, I would say that if you want to just kind of like get a mouthful of the sound of where this artist is at this point in time, the first three tracks will do that perfectly. But there's also some versatility, which is why I think we're picking these other tracks. So the First Night.
It don't get any better from what I felt that night. The first time that I met her, I felt something inside. So here we go now, slow down. I can't escape these feelings, I'm spinning around. Slow down, there's not a better feeling. The first night we didn't kiss, we held hands like little kids. My life hasn't been the same since something at that second clicked. Every minute that we're together, I feel more high than ever. The only drug I need is when she's smiling at me. It don't get any better from what I felt that night. The first time that I met her,
one is very like bedroom pop, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could see somebody just recording this in their bedroom, put this all together,
Sure.
and be like, here's this cool song I made.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's like a vulnerability to that, and I think it kind of fits the lyrical choices here, where it's about falling in love, which I already said, he hasn't really done on some of his other albums.
Yeah. Like it's almost unironic. It's not, there's like you're
Yeah.
waiting for a punchline or something, but it doesn't come.
Interesting one. I
Yeah,
think
no, for sure. And I like hearing that. I'm glad you pointed this out. I like hearing that from him based on everything I've seen being comical, So arguably even in Cowboys Don't Cry, in the beginning he says like, I'm not good at goodbyes. I miss the sunshine. And you're right. And it's like, yeah, it works. And you could just think of it as like it's the fake dramatic setup to the funnier part of the song or whatever. But it's also like, well, you may really mean that too, So
yeah, it seems
anyway,
like he explored that a little bit more on this album, like actually falling in
yeah,
love in an unironic way.
yeah. Instead of it just being like a artsy and party kind of like vibe, I think it shows the like emotional versatility too, which maybe Strangers will also demonstrate that. The next track,
Yes.
okay, Strangers.
Stranger standing next to me. You're as lonely as I'll ever be.
You could call this a Blink 182 like intro
Standing next to me.
if you like think hard enough about it.
I'm as lonely as you'll ever be. I turned into what I hated, but I can't escape my own fate. In the mirror I'm betrayed when I am staring at my own face. It's hard to believe, the more friends you have, the better. It's never what it seems, I feel more alone than ever. Stranger standing next to me. You're as lonely as I'll ever be. Stranger standing next to me. I'm as lonely as you'll ever be.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would say dark, but it's definitely like, oh, all right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's if you listen to that like closely enough, it's like, all right, that's
Yeah.
that's pretty honest.
I think it's very honest.
Yeah.
Put it over that like really poppy melody. It's like,
Mhm.
it's just,
Boom, 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 boom.
and I think it's probably even more true. And there's like layers to it where, okay, you have these really honest lyrics behind this pop facade,
Mhm.
but you have like a real guy that's feeling all these things behind this ridiculous clown suit.
Mhm.
There's kind of layers to it, and I like that about Oliver. I think he's probably thinking of these things too, and it's very deliberate when he does them.
Yeah, I mean, again to once again bring up Andy Kaufman, but it's like moments with whether you're watching the movie Man in the Moon, which is very meta because like Jim Carrey almost kind of just went into another like universe as a person during that, seemingly. But if you watch any of the original footage of Andy Kaufman, really funny. He was probably a super nice guy, but like probably was also a little tortured because it's almost like a desperation kind of like play. Some of the things that happen, like for instance, that what was it? Jimmy Hinchcliffe. What was the alter ego where he would like, dress up as like the fat lounge singer, like blah blah blah. Like
Who was it?
I don't know if you remember that from the movie or you saw that on.
Oh, yeah.
So he
I
does
can't-
this like alter ego. There's like the general just sort of like awkward theater that he would do on like interviews or like his live shows and stuff. But then he would, I guess it would be like he'd be in a city for a particular show, whether it was at a club or a college or something. And it would be like later that night or an off night. And like in the movie in Man in the Moon, they're at one of these like, like nightclubs and this like obnoxious washed up looking like Vegas lounge singer type comes out and just starts like berating the audience. Like there's no jokes. He's just like an asshole to everyone. and and the manager or whoever the hell it is watching this and is like horrified and then is backstage and then this, again, Jimmy Hinch, whatever the hell his name is, comes over and is like messing with him and then takes the mask off or whatever. And it's Andy Kaufman. So it's like I wonder if that was like his like rage catharsis, where he would like play this character, just abuse people for like an hour. So, but that's the whole thing too. It's like we were talking about clowns. There's like the sad clown that's like performing for everyone. That whole trope. This is like a very like vaudeville type of thing happening now with this artist, which I think is great, and maybe other artists who, Oliver Tree is unique unto himself, I think, in that regard.
And there's some other depth here too in the album. There's one song where he goes into what happens after we die.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So he's dealing with all kinds of issues here, and I like to see that helps me connect to an artist more, is whenever they're really exploring the questions of life.
Yeah.
Something I try to do a little bit with my own music, and
Sure.
I think as you do that, you connect with an even broader audience, and hopefully that's the goal of art, right? Is to help people feel connected.
Yeah. Other than the fact that like this is released music distributed in the current traditional way and blah blah blah, this is what you're talking about. All of this like rich, like thematic stuff going on is all wrapped in like a let's just throw the rules completely out package. So you're getting the wacky kind of artist image in there, and then like you, Jeremy, are getting at all the other sort of like connectors through like being honest and emotional, all that stuff, like from a content point of view. And then, but like what's cool is it's like all in this framework of someone who just threw out the rule book. So on top of all that, you're not then being spoon fed by like the status quo type of artist. It's like someone who is just doing whatever they feel is right, and it happens to work. And then there's all that good stuff in there too. Like I think that's what makes this guy unique,
I think it's also just the balls to pull off any of this stuff.
Oh yeah, well it takes balls to do that, I mean, for sure. But and that's just, like it's kind of punk rock, I guess is what I'm saying,
Yeah, I wish I had the balls to do all that stuff. Come out dressed in Jinkos and a windbreaker and
right. Yeah, but see now that's being done, or that's been done. So now maybe
do something else.
Yeah,
And
maybe you
so
just
I gotta have balls, and I gotta be really creative on top of it. That's way too much.
Well, maybe you just have to go back to being cool. That's not you, just
Yeah.
Anyway.
Can always fit right in.
Yeah, or maybe conformity is the way to go. It's hard to say. Yeah.
To say.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully that was a good little pontification of a very, I think, profound artist of our time. And I was very much thrilled to be a part of that conversation. So thanks for taking us on that journey.
Yeah. Well,
Young
thanks
Jeremy.
for Oliver Tree, and I'm glad he's putting out some music and we could talk about it.
Yes, indeed. And, I'll just do that thing. Hey, Oliver, if you ever come across this, come on the podcast and you can pull whatever hijinks you want, or we could just be straightforward.
You can give me a wedgie.
Yeah. Yeah, you could come to either one of our houses. You go to Jeremy's house and give him a nice wedgie.
Yep. I'd be down for that. That'd be awesome. Dude, he can cut my hair into a bullet. Like, I'm up for all of it.
Okay, good. Great. I'll have Keith Richards smoke here, and Oliver Tree can give you a bowl cut at your house. Awesome. All right, man. Well, that was fun. And another mini-sode under the belt. So thank you everyone for watching, and please like and subscribe and all that bullshit. Because
it actually does help if you do it.
Yeah, no, it does. Thank you. We would appreciate that. And otherwise, just stay tuned for more fun stuff. We actually have a lot of ideas in the pipeline. It's just a matter of when and how to execute. So some things to look forward to. We may have a Big Lebowski episode, and I'm sure there'll be more Taylor content, maybe more Stones content. We'll see. But and hopefully some fun interviews. But that's on us to figure that out.
Know of an artist that's really interesting we should check out? Put it in the comments below.
Yes, please. This is your show as well. So tell us what you want to see more of or hear more of if you're listening, and we'll get to it. All right. All right, Jeremy. Till next time, my friend.
See you, Mike.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Did you enjoy that episode? Yes? Would you like to see and hear more? Please like and subscribe, and you'll automatically receive notifications when we publish new episodes. Thanks for watching and listening to the WoAS podcast.